Hello, this is Steve Melendrez. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but kind of embarrassed doing the introduction for every single thing I put out there. And I decided maybe I should just do one small introduction and just attach it to anything I put out there. So yeah, anyway, that's my plan. Okay, so I was the illustrator, sculptor, model maker, designer for the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles for about 15 years and did a lot of different things, sculpting dinosaurs and whales and creating ancient civilizations, doing the dioramas along with a team. Some projects I was the tip of the sword, but most of the time everybody worked as a unit and got things done. Now, when you look at a movie, and there's some brilliant people out there. This is like a new renaissance that's going on, especially with young children. And the list, if you ever stop and stay in the theater, you'll watch hundreds of people go by to make a movie. And that's the kind of the way I've led my life. Just part of a team. Did have some accolades in LA. But let's just forget about that. I'm an educator, and I've been an educator for over 15 years also, and just a crazy art teacher like other art teachers out there. And that's just the way I've done things, just trying to share my talents. Now, I could do everything in acrylics, and that's what I used to use, and I hated watercolors because it was one of those things that's really hard to master or get good at, because I needed to add detail because I was a scientific illustrator and I used computers for a lot of that too. But it's kind of, watercolors was just something you couldn't get detail, or at least I couldn't get detail on it. So over the years, something that I couldn't handle, I started using more and more and more until I got to a point where I can do detail in my work. Now, I do break this thing up into 3 different categories. Hello, code. And one of them is kind of watercolor instructions of doing detail. Now, there's a lot of videos out there on YouTube that, they do a real loose technique, and I use some of that technique, and it's really beautiful, but I use it just for certain things, skies and things like that. But for me, I always needed to put detail and stuff, so I try to push it a little further. Now, there was nobody to teach me how to do that detail because YouTube wasn't even invented when I started doing watercolor, so this is all anyway, so I'm just sharing those things because I'm a teacher, and that's what I'm going to be doing. Now, my life has been mainly giving back, trying to help other people or show people, and I need to keep that tradition. Now, I retired this January, and I still need to teach. I can't do it in a classroom environment, so I'm doing this online. And I know not too many people are going to be seeing my videos, and maybe someday they will, but so this is mainly broken into sections, as I said before. One of them is video posters for my daughter. So some of the things I talk about is my life and things at the museum, and a lot of different things. And that is kind of like a visual diary for my daughter. The other one is my life at the museum. So there's a lot of funny stories in that. And the last one is watercolor techniques. Now, since my watercolors, I add a lot of detail, I can't do this in 20 minutes or 15 minutes. And I tried it with that Hyperloop, and it just frustrated me to no end because I couldn't teach. It was just this sped up thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. If people enjoy just looking at somebody paint, even if it's in hyper speed, great. As long as you're looking at art, terrific. But I would rather show a work in progress and then zoom into a small little section and do a demonstration in real time and explain what I'm doing and as much as I can. And in one video before, I kind of mentioned that I've been doing this for, a long time. Not only the sculpting and model making, but painting since I was 5. And I've been working on trying to get comfortable with watercolors in the last, 20 years. So I'm in a point where I feel comfortable, and my success rates are a lot higher now than they were before. Doesn't mean they all turn out. Trust me, watercolors is very temperamental, and sometimes you're going great and you think everything's working, and you do something that doesn't work, and you could try to get some of it out, but it's just there, and it's like, oh. But that is also the thrill. Now, I'm old school, so the thrill for me is at the very end of being successful. So knowing that at any point in time in this process, I can fail. So it's part of the thrill when I don't. That I'm working on, constantly working on. Maybe it's just adding another hour to a piece that's been sitting there for a year or a couple months. But it's looking for little things and improving. And that's kind of who I am. Now, if you wanted to know more about me or see some of my other artwork, you would just have to put Nevets design, Stephen backwards, and it goes to my website. So those are the pictures I can control. Now, because I work for the museum, they owned everything. So I don't know what's out there that involves the museum. Sometimes I just find out there's something that people are using that I didn't give permission, but they're using them anyway. But that's, I'm still trying to teach people. Anyway, so this is a long introduction, and I think I'm just going to make that as one separate video that trying to explain who I am. And then I'm going to do just like a short introduction today that I can attach to things I'm doing. So because if you notice, when I'm trying to do who I am, I get embarrassed of trying to, explain who I am and what I've done. So I figure if I just do one, I know it's out there. And if I do a small introduction of who I am and what I'm going to be doing, that would work. So be careful out there, because it is scary out there.